Hello, in this video series I aim to provide you with an updated version of the key concepts that you need to know in order to master the medical job or doctor job interview process. Hi, I'm Dr. Anthony Llewellyn, the career doctor, and I'm an experienced medical HR expert and interview coach. In this video lesson, we're going to cover the question, how do I answer the strengths and weaknesses question? This is a popular question in both traditional panel interviews and MMI type interviews. And it normally comes as a two-pronged question, i.e. first you get asked to talk about some strengths, and then you get asked to talk about some weaknesses. But occasionally you just might be asked about weaknesses. So 2 quick points about strengths, because I want to spend the rest of this video lesson on the more important half of the question, the weaknesses bit. Firstly, if you're ever asked to talk about specifically your strengths in the interview, be aware that it is highly likely that the next question you get will be about your weaknesses. Secondly, we've already covered how you should talk about your strengths in the previous video lesson. You should always talk about your strengths in terms of the value you bring to the role, and you can use the CAMP framework for this. So if you skipped that lesson, I've linked it in the video here for you. So what about weaknesses? How should you approach this question? 4 points I want to emphasize here with the question about weaknesses. 1, this question is a potential trap. The primary reason that a panel asks this question is to give weaker candidates an opportunity to expose something negative about them, so the panel can eliminate them from the running. The secondary reason for asking this question is to see whether you have reflected on any challenges in the role. So following on from point 1, because this question is a potential trap, you can reduce your risk by only volunteering one weakness. Don't give the panel anything more than one unless specifically asked for another weakness. Now the third point and the next point is to please try to avoid cliches like I'm just too hardworking or I have trouble saying no. These are things the panel hears often from candidates and they just won't believe you or feel that you are giving a genuine answer. And fourthly, you can avoid cliches by adhering to my final point, which is that you should endeavor to identify a weakness that reflects an inherent and understandable challenge in the job that you're applying for. i.e. try to turn it from a personal weakness into something most job incumbents may struggle with initially. So go through the job description and identify areas of the job that might be a challenge. Try to steer away from the core duties into extra areas such as administrative tasks or research tasks or teaching tasks. Talk to current incumbents and find out what their key challenges were initially in the role. Armed with this information, you are now prepared for this question. Let's take the example of applying for a registrar trainee role where you're a resident doctor who has never worked as a registrar before. Now let's say that the challenge you've identified is increased complexity of delegation and more junior staff to monitor. So when faced with the weaknesses question, do the following. 1, state the weakness or now challenge that you have identified. i.e. I think one of the challenges for me is going to be the increased responsibility for more junior staff. 2, state what you've found out about the challenge from your research. So I've talked to a number of incumbent current registrars and they mention that this is one of the key initial challenges. But they also tell me that the consultants are available to guide you and let you know if you're delegating properly. And then thirdly and finally, state what you have or are doing to prepare yourself for this challenge. So currently what I'm doing to prepare myself for this role is that I currently have a medical student on my team and I'm learning to delegate more and more tasks to them and putting in place check-ins to make sure everything is done correctly. And I'm also now leading the ward rounds on behalf of the registrar who sits back and gives me feedback on my delegations at the end of each round. So that is how you tackle the weakness question. Now, if at any point you feel that you've gotten value out of this video series and you want to dive a bit deeper into mastering the doctor job interview process, then I highly recommend you check out my Doctor Job Interview Skills course, where I do a much deeper dive into each of these question types, along with other questions and a lot more concepts to help you truly excel in your next medical job interview. For example, in the course, I go over in a lot more detail how to approach the strengths and weaknesses question. If you click on the link in the description or at the end of the video, you can purchase this course for a special discount just for watching the whole way through. And I'll see you in the next lesson.